All right, let's dive right in. We're going to tackle a question that I think everybody struggles with. Why do so many of our big plans to improve, whether it's at work or just in our own lives, why do they seem to fizzle out? Today, we're digging into Stephen Covey's work to figure out why those quick fixes almost never work and what it really takes to make a change that actually sticks.
You know the feeling, right? You start something new, a new project, a new habit, and you're fired up. But then a few weeks or months go by, and you're pretty much right back where you started. Well, according to Stephen Covey, that's not just a string of bad luck. It's because we're usually coming at the problem from the completely wrong angle.
Covey had this amazing metaphor to explain it. He called it the law of the farm. Think about it. You can totally cram for a test, pull an all-nighter, and maybe squeak by with a passing grade. But can you cram on a farm? No way. You can't just forget to plant seeds in the spring, goof off all summer, and then work really hard for 2 nights and expect a harvest. It's impossible. Growth, whether it's in a field or in a person, follows these unchangeable natural laws. You can't fake it, and you certainly can't rush it. And that urge we have to try and cram our way to success, well, that leads us straight into what Covey called the quick fix trap. For about the last century, we've become obsessed with what he called the personality ethic. This is all about your image, your communication techniques, how charming you are. It's like spending all your time polishing the leaves of a tree, hoping that'll make the tree healthy. But the older, more timeless idea is the character ethic, which is all about the roots, things like integrity, humility, courage, the deep stuff. The personality ethic is worried about appearing good. The character ethic is about being good.
Ralph Waldo Emerson just nailed it with this quote. It gets right to the heart of it. We can learn all the right words to say, but who we are, our actual character, is communicating something much, much louder. And if what you say doesn't match who you are, people can feel that disconnect a mile away.
So at the end of the day, focusing on personality is just treating symptoms. It's like putting a Band-Aid on a communication problem at work, but completely ignoring the real chronic issue underneath, which is usually a deep lack of trust that comes from a shaky character foundation.
Okay, so if the personality ethic is the trap, what's the escape route? Covey says we need a huge paradigm shift. We have to stop trying to follow a flawed map and start trusting a reliable compass. This is leadership by compass.
The secret, he says, is to center our lives on principles. Now, for Covey, principles aren't just warm, fuzzy values. He saw them as objective, universal, natural laws that are just true. Things like fairness, integrity, honesty. They're like gravity. They exist, and they have an impact whether you believe in them or not. You don't invent them, you just discover them and align yourself with them.
And here's the best analogy to get it. Our values are like a map. They're subjective, they're our personal view of how the world works. And you know what? Sometimes our maps are just plain wrong, or they get outdated. But principles? Principles are like a compass. A compass is objective. It's universal. It always points true north. It gives you real direction, not just a description of the territory.
And this is exactly why the compass is so crucial today. Our world is changing so fast that our mental maps are becoming obsolete almost overnight. When you find yourself in totally new, uncharted territory, an old map is worse than useless. But a compass, your internal sense of true north, that will guide you every single time.
So, okay, how do you actually build your life around this internal compass? Well, the process doesn't start with trying to change other people, it starts with you. It's the path to greatness from the inside out.
Covey calls this the inside-out approach. It all begins with what he calls a private victory. This is about winning the battle with yourself, about developing self-mastery, and, crucially, about making and keeping promises to yourself. Why start there? Well, think about it. If you can't even trust yourself to follow through, how can you possibly expect anyone else to trust you? It's only after you achieve that private victory that you can move on to the public victory, which is all about building those high-trust relationships you need to succeed with other people.
This quote just sums it up perfectly. If you've behaved your way into a problem, say a problem of trust or integrity, you can't just smooth talk your way out of it. You have to behave your way out. Real lasting change has to come from changing who you are, not just the words you use. Private victory has to come first.
always.
So when you actually do this, when you center your life on principles from the inside out, you build this incredibly powerful internal foundation. Covey breaks this foundation down into 4 pillars.
The first pillar is security, and we're not talking about your job title or how many likes you get on social media. This is a deep internal sense of your own worth that comes from your character, not from what other people think of you.
Second is guidance. This is that internal compass we've been talking about. It's your conscience, totally aligned with true principles, giving you a clear sense of direction in any storm.
The third pillar is wisdom. This is all about perspective. It's that ability to see the big picture, to understand how all the different parts and principles fit together instead of just getting lost in the weeds.
And finally, power. This is your ability to actually act, to make things happen, to choose your response instead of just reacting. It's the juice you need to break old habits and actually live by your principles.
Now, when a leader has that internal foundation, that solid core of security, guidance, wisdom, and power, it completely transforms how they lead other people. They make the shift from control to empowerment.
And the difference is just night and day. On one hand, you have the manager who leads by control. They rely on their job title, on rules, on procedures. And what do they get? Compliance. But it's a compliance that's driven by fear, and it creates a low-trust environment. On the other hand, you have the principle-centered leader. They operate on shared principles and trust. They don't have to micromanage because they've built an environment where people are committed, creative, and can basically supervise themselves.
You see, it creates this incredible chain reaction. A leader's character, their integrity, creates trustworthiness. That trustworthiness is the foundation that allows them to build trust with their team. And that trust, that's the absolute bedrock of empowerment and any kind of lasting success. You just can't get there without it.
It really all boils down to this one simple but incredibly profound idea. Lasting success in your career and in your life doesn't come from the things you do, your little techniques or tactics. It flows directly from who you are, from your character. So, I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. What is the one principle? Maybe it's integrity or fairness or service or honesty. What is the one principle you're going to consciously use to guide your actions just for today? Because making that choice to live by even one principle, that's the first and most powerful step you can take on this whole journey.